or she might be.
All right, are we
Funny.
more folks, or are we Valerie View? Oh, Lisa's in. Yes, wonderful. Hi, Lisa. We're good. Okay, very good. All right, thank you all for being here. We are here to speak a little bit about the primary election, which is coming tomorrow. We have with us City Commissioner Chair Lisa Deeley. Council member Maria Quinones Sanchez was unable to be here, although she had planned to do so. She's in her district dealing with some pretty emergent times, as I'm sure you know. We also have with us Assistant District Attorney Andrew Wellbrock, who is the chief of the DA Office Election Task Force. I just have a few comments, and will be available to give other comments in Spanish on behalf of Council member Quinones Sanchez and to all voters who might prefer to hear this information in Spanish. And after I speak, I'll turn it over to Chair of the City Commissioners, Lisa Deeley, and then we will hear from Mr. Wellbrock. The DA's Office Election Task Force will be activated from 7 a.m. until 8:00 p.m. on June the 2nd to ensure that everyone who is registered to vote is able to do so without harassment or interference. There are some basic rules. Campaign workers must stand at least 10 feet away from the entrance of a polling location. No one can cast a vote on someone else's behalf, and voters may receive assistance from another person inside the voting booth only if they have shown that they have a disability such as blindness or illiteracy. In order to report suspected unlawful voting activity or interference, please call the DAO Election Task Force. Mr. Wellbrock will repeat these numbers for you, but they are 215-686-9641, 43, and 44. Our office, the DA's office, will be taking calls from 7 in the morning when polls open until 8 p.m. when they close. It is very important for everyone to know that Philadelphians will not be arrested or prosecuted for going to and coming from voting tomorrow. Obviously, there have been some curfews. The times have varied as to when they occurred, but everyone in the city is on the same page that there will be no interference with voting based upon any potential curfew that might be in place. If you are in line by 8:00 p.m., stay there, finish voting, complete your mission. As always, if you see violence of any kind, call 911 immediately. If you do file a complaint with the DAO Election Task Force, be prepared to provide your name and contact information so that your complaint can be fully investigated. City commissioners will, of course, speak for themselves, but they're ready to make sure the June 2nd primary election goes as smoothly and safely as possible. If you have trouble finding your polling location, they will address for you the specifics of how you can get it online, or you can also call the City Commissioners Election Day Hotline, and I'm sure that the City Commissioners will repeat this number for you, but it is 215-686-1590. And with that, I would like to turn it over to City Commissioner Chair Lisa Deeley.
Good afternoon, and thank you. Thank you very much. I'd just like to reiterate with District Attorney Krasner has already said, tomorrow is Election Day in Philadelphia, and Philadelphians will be able to exercise their right to vote tomorrow, irregardless of any curfew or anything that curfew that might be imposed. Voting will still be ongoing. If you are in line by 8 p.m., stay there, because you are allowed to stay to make sure that you have the ability to cast your vote on Election Day. If you have any issues tomorrow at the polls, if you're unsure of where your polling place is located, you can call our office at 215-686-1590. Voters should be aware that we consolidated a large number of polling locations due to the COVID-19 virus. So if you are unsure where you're voting tomorrow, please take a moment before leaving your home to double check your polling location. You can go on our website at pollingplaces.philadelphiavotes.com. type in your address and it will tell you where you are voting tomorrow. Please take a minute to confirm your polling location before leaving the house. We don't want you to assume that you're going to the same polling location that you typically go to, because it's more than likely that you will be voting in a new location. So take a moment before leaving the house tomorrow, double check that you're going to the right place. The polls will be open at 7 a.m. Please remember that it is your neighbors that are standing up the polls tomorrow for us as election board workers. They are certainly the heroes of the day. So please be kind to our board workers. Again, if you have any issues, please call our hotline, our Election Day hotline at 215-686-1590. We all recognize that we are having an election in very challenging times. Please know that we are all working together to do everything possible to make sure that tomorrow is a good election day for everybody in Philadelphia.
I think the DA was muted, but I'm going to assume he was tossing things over to me. Good afternoon. My name is Andrew Wellbrock. With some of my colleagues tomorrow, we'll be staffing the phone numbers that Alejandro put in the chat. It is 215-686-9641, 9643, and 9644. We have plenty of DAs handling those phones, so you will get through to someone eventually. If the call volume's high, just keep trying. We will get back to people. We also have our district attorney detectives who will be available to go out and investigate allegations of fraud. Anyone who is attempting to impede your right to vote, anyone who is doing something illegal at the polling place, please call us and we will do our best to get all of your contact information down. Keeping in mind that we're still in the midst of a pandemic, we will try and have a conversation with you over the phone as much as possible, gather information so that we can, formulate an appropriate response. My advice to people would be to come up with a plan to vote today. Your polling place might have changed. SEPTA may be difficult to access tomorrow. Personally, my polling place moved about a mile away. So keep in mind that there may be some other impediments that you are not expecting. So please come up with a plan to vote today. Do it early so that if you do have questions throughout the day, you can react to the evolving circumstances. But please feel free to call us. We're here to help as best we can. And we have 3 different numbers for your availability. Mr. DA, you're muted.
It's even better when you can hear me. Soy el fiscal del distrito, Larry Krasner. Queremos que vote, Filadelfia. Las elecciones primarias de Pennsylvania son el martes 2 de junio. Esta será una elección histórica en muchos sentidos. Si no pudiste cumplir con la fecha de entrega para solicitar una boleta por correo, todavía puedes votar con seguro en el 2 de junio. Así es como hemos consolidado los lugares de votación físicos para la seguridad de los trabajadores electorales voluntarios y votantes. Vaya a pollingplaces.philadelphiavotes.com y haga clic al menú desplegable en la esquina superior derecha para ver las instrucciones en español o otro idioma. Si planea votar en persona el 2 de junio, siga las reglas de la CDC y use una máscara. Traiga guantes y desinfectante para sus manos si puede. Su derecho a votar está garantizado por la Constitución. Por favor, ejerza este derecho con inteligencia. Los trabajadores electorales tendrán máscaras y guantes disponibles si usted no tiene los suyos. Y los trabajadores electorales usarán protectores faciales para su protección y la protección tuya. La Fuerza Especial Electoral de la Oficina del Fiscal del Distrito se activará el 2 de junio para garantizar que todos los que estén registrados para votar puedan hacerlo sin acoso ni interferencia. Los trabajadores de la campaña deben pararse al menos a 10 pies de distancia de la entrada de un lugar de votación. No puedes enviar un voto en nombre de otra persona y los votantes solo pueden recibir asistencia de otra persona dentro de la cabina de votación si han completado los propios formularios que demuestran que tienen una discapacidad. Por ejemplo, si eres ciego o no puedes leer. Para reportar sospechas de actividad de voto ilegal o interferencia, llame a la Fuerza Especial Electoral del Fiscal al 215-686-9641, 43 o 44. Nuestra oficina atenderá llamadas desde las 7 de la mañana cuando los lugares de votación abren hasta las 8 de la tarde cuando cierran. Como siempre, si ve violencia de cualquier tipo, llame al 911 inmediatamente. Si presenta una queja ante de la Fuerza Especial Electoral del Fiscal, esté preparado para dar su nombre e información de contacto para que su queja pueda ser investigada. Los comisionados de la ciudad están listos para asegurarse de que las elecciones primarias del 2 de junio sean fluidas y seguras como sea posible. Si tiene problemas para encontrar su lugar de votación o usar las máquinas de votación, llame a nuestra línea directa del día de las elecciones al 215-686-1590. Haga un plan para votar con seguridad el 12 de junio, Filadelfia. Y hay que saber que personas que van a votar o vuelven de votar no van a sufrir ningún tipo de arresto ni ningún cargo penal a causa de lo que está pasando en las calles. No tiene nada que ver con el día de votar. Van a tener permiso de votar. Además de eso, si están en la fila, en la línea para votar a las 8, quédense ahí para votar. No tienen que preocuparse de la hora si llegan en esa fila a las 8. All right. Thank you very much for that. Are there any questions? Questions will be emailed to Jane Rowe. Jane.rowe@phila.gov.
So I have a first set of questions from Katie Meyer of WHYY. Are you concerned that the civil unrest in Philadelphia will compromise voters' ability to get to the polls in person?
That question's for me.
For you,
Okay. Commissioner, would you care to answer that first? Are you concerned that the civil unrest will compromise voters' ability to get to their voting locations? She's muted. Commissioner, I believe you're on mute. I believe you're still on mute.
So, I mean, we are concerned about the civil unrest activity as it continues to occur. But, you know, we hope that tomorrow the voters will be able to get to the polls and exercise their right to vote. I mean, there is no greater form of protest or letting your voice be heard than going to vote on Election Day.
I would join with that. Philadelphia is a tough city. I don't think any of the looters out there are trying to steal votes. I think they're trying to steal clothes. So I would not expect to have your path in any way troubled by some of the criminal activity that is going on separate and apart from the folks who are out there exercising their rights of free speech on an important public issue. If anything, a lot of these ideal protesters will probably help you get to the polls.
Next question from Katie Meyer at WHYY. Are there any areas of the city that you're particularly worried about?
Commissioner, could you hear that?
I couldn't, I'm sorry.
Okay. So the question was, this is also from Katie Myers, are there any areas of the city that you're particularly worried about?
Not right now. We're just taking an approach to the whole city. We just, our main objective on Election Day is 7 a.m. to see, make sure who's up and running. We will be here at 6 o'clock, fielding those calls as the polls begin to open up throughout the day, and we'll monitor the situation along with our people that we'll have on the ground throughout the city.
I would, my response would be, we know that our police department and our commissioner and also the city are doing everything they can to make things functional and to make things safe. We at the DA's office have no particular concern about any part of the city. We are concerned about this, though, which is that we've received a lot of inquiries by people who are concerned that a possible curfew might interfere with their right to vote. I have confirmed time and again what I hope you already know, but if you don't, let me confirm it. No curfew is going to interfere with the right of any voter to go to the polls, to remain at the polls, and to return from the polls safely. That is not only what it should be, but I have that actually confirmed from folks in the city itself. So please do not let these circumstances dissuade you from exercising your sacred right to vote.
Next question from Katie Meyer, WHYY. What sort of police and National Guard presence will we see in Philadelphia tomorrow, and what will their roles be?
I believe that's a question for the police commissioner, and so I'm going to refrain from answering.
And then last question from Katie Meyer. Is the city taking any concrete steps to make sure polling locations can keep operating and make sure people can get there safely? That's for you.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. Let me get that. What was the question again?
Is the city taking any concrete steps to make sure polling places can keep operating and make sure people can get there safely?
Is the city taking any concrete steps to make sure that the polling places can keep functioning and people can get there safely? I believe that's a question for city commissioners.
We are constantly working with our partners in emergency management and the police department and the administration. We all are doing everything we can, working together to make sure that tomorrow, election day, people have the ability to go to the polls and have their voice be heard. Any issues that will come up tomorrow, we will deal with them as they unfold in whatever manner needs to happen. But people should know, as the DA has already said, that the curfews will not affect people's right to go out and vote. And if they're in line at 8 o'clock, they should stay there and get their vote cast. It's an ever-changing, rapidly changing days that we're in. And tomorrow we are up and ready to stand up an election in Philadelphia for Philadelphians to go and have their voice be heard and their vote be cast.
The next question is from Harry Hairston at NBC 10. What is being done to protect voters and volunteers from COVID-19 and from rioters?
So the question for Mr. Hairston is, what is being done to protect voters from COVID-19 and also from rioters? Is that the question? Yeah. Okay. Is that something? So
we have preparation for the voters. So our poll workers will be given PPE at the polling locations. There will be masks provided for voters who don't have one. There's sanitizer, antiseptic wipes, gloves will be given to voters for them to cast their vote on the voting machines, and the polling locations are taped off to provide for social distance requirements.
And I would just add to that any further questions might be for the police commissioner.
And then the next question is from Victor Fiorello at Philly Mag. Is there a specific contingency plan already drawn up for what happens if a given polling location becomes unavailable due to civil unrest? For example, if my polling location becomes unavailable at noon because there's looting or violence on the block, what do I do?
All right, let me make sure I don't miss any of that question. This is from Victor Fiorello, and the question is there a specific contingency plan in place if a particular voting location becomes unavailable presumably because of the civil unrest? For example, if my polling place became unavailable at noon, what was the rest of the question?
What do you do? How do you cast your vote if your polling location gets closed?
Okay, what do you do? How do you cast your vote if your polling location gets closed?
We are actually working on a contingency model right now. for us to be able to either relocate a polling location or to move voters from one location to another location. That's all being worked out right now. We were just on a call with the Department of State with regard to these issues and how they relate to polling operations and election day regulations. So if that were to happen, there will be a plan in place for us to communicate that and to make sure that everybody in that location still has access to voting tomorrow.
The next question is from Pat Loeb at KYW. It is directed to Commissioner Deeley. Do you have advice for people who mailed their ballot back on Friday or Saturday and are concerned about it getting to the election board on time?
Okay, the next question is, did you hear that? Commissioner? You did, good, okay.
Well, we have polling ballot drop-off locations. Today, we are partnered with the Committee of 70 and have mobile drop-off locations. You can go to our website at phillyvotes.com, and each of the commissioners each have social media platforms where the mobile drop-off locations for today are published. In addition to that, tomorrow, Election Day, we will be throughout the city in locations in each council district for voters to come to drop off their ballots. The ballots need to be received by us by 8 p.m. tomorrow night. So if you haven't gotten your ballot yet and you get it tomorrow, you know that tomorrow you can take it to one of the locations that are on our website, or you can call the 686-1590, or we can we'll put it here in the chat as well. And then if you have your ballot, you want to make sure that we get it by 8 o'clock tomorrow night. You want to put it in a ballot drop off anywhere around the city that is scheduled for tomorrow, or the mobile drop offs that are remaining for today. It's important that people know that the ballot drop offs for tomorrow they are geographically located ballot off at any one of those locations. They are not specific to voters in those council districts. Mailed their voted ballot to any one of those ballot drop locations tomorrow.
Chair Deeley, you broke up there a little bit. I don't know. It was just in the last about 45 seconds. There were some problems with transmission of your voice. I wonder if you could repeat the end of your response again.
Any voter in Philadelphia that has a mailed ballot that hasn't returned it yet, they can return that ballot, that mailed ballot, to any location listed, even though they are geographically listed by council district. You do not have to be a voter in that council district to drop your ballot there. You can go to any location within the city to drop your voted ballot off at.
And Commissioner, if I could just tack on to that a little bit. I believe if you have not filled out your mail-in ballot, or if it's otherwise been lost or destroyed, you're able to fill out a provisional ballot at your polling place. I believe that's correct.
Yes.
Next question is from Claire Sasko at Philly Mag. I'm wondering if City Commissioner Deeley and or DA Krasner can address concerns that a police presence at the polls might deter some voters from going to the polls.
I'll jump in there as well, if you don't mind. Pennsylvania law prevents uniformed police officers from being within 100 feet of the polling place unless they're called in to quell some disturbance of the peace. So you're not going to have the police, administering an election. You're not going to have the National Guard doing that. They understand that's a very different role they take. If there are riots near polling places, they may be there to handle that, but you're not going to have armed police or armed anyone handling or working the election.
I have another question from Harry Hairston at NBC 10. Are masks required for people to vote? Will people be turned away if they refuse to wear a mask?
Question, could you hear that, Commissioner? Okay, go ahead.
So we cannot prohibit anybody from voting that does not have a mask, of course, along with all of us, all those officials in Philadelphia. We are urging and encouraging everyone to wear their mask when they leave the house, and there will be masks provided for voters that do not have their own.
And I have a follow-up question from Victor Fiorello at Philly Mag. The primary begins in well under 24 hours. When will the contingency plan be finalized? Where will it be published?
Commissioner, could you hear that? Or if not, I'll repeat it.
Our contingency plan for polling locations will be as needed. So we'll be ready to go if we need to. If an event occurs where we need to do that, we will be ready to go. It's
Right.
as needed.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. I understand that's the last question. So unless the commissioner or Mr. Wellbrock has another comment, we will call this to a conclusion. All right. Thank you very much. It's good to see you all. Everybody vote.
Thank you. Vote.